Hi, Katie. Can you hear me? My apologies for starting on a delay. I just got back. Thanks for your patience, though. Hope you guys are doing well so far on Sunday. Yeah, ordered some food and then had to wait for 40 minutes to pick it up. So I was like, I gotta rush home. I I'm grateful that you all are here, but thank you for for supporting and having time to join on. I know you're like on the East Coast right now. It's like what 6:35 over there. William also joining, Daniel joining. But it's great that you guys are all here to join. We'll give it a few minutes. Thank you for letting me slide this time, Katie. I promise I won't, you know, be delayed again. But we'll try to get started. How's the weather out there in Maine? I feel like it's like cold. Um, I'm out here in California, Santa Clara. It's quite warm outside, in like the high 70s. Oh yes, William. We got we got Bitcoin roaring. We got some nice movements. This is looking good, and I think it's all because of the wonderful news we're getting right now with Trump tariffs, the extension. Oh, it was raining today. I see. I'd love to visit Maine. I think about seafood out there. Um, but all right, so it looks like we got about 10 people joining. Appreciate you all. William coming back. Looks like we got Daniel joining. What's up, Daniel? Thank you for joining, buddy. Um, Mr. William, Mara fanboy. We got Katie. We got Clean Spark hodlers. We got Chris King with the questions. So, Chris, we'll go through all that. But yes, put your questions in the comments. Any questions you have, I will try to answer to the best of my ability. Any requests, put it in the comments. Any, you know, we should all be excited. Bitcoin is about to break 120,000. I think we're going to get to 100,000 very soon here. I mean, we got ETH about to break out to 4,000, Bitcoin getting back to its 120 level. It's only going to be a matter of time. And we got a lot of exciting news coming out this week, starting on Tuesday. And then we got other big time players. Well, when you think about it, we got three companies that are announcing, companies that are hodling Bitcoin right now. We got Strategy, we got Mara, we got Riot this week. All right. So it looks like we got a good amount of people. Thank you all for joining. I apologize for the slight delay this time. I usually try to get on by about 3 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Looks like we got, people on. But any comments, questions you have, I'd love to see what it is. So just put it in the chat. All right. So first question from Chris King. Are miners going to make up for last week's dip this week? So it really depends on which miners you're talking about, right? So yes, with the big three, Clean Spark, Mara did have a slight pullback. However, this week, I think shorts are really going to be fearful. They may have to cover. Clean Spark has really good fundamentals. I think as we head towards the August updates, they're going to announce some really good numbers, especially with production. And we know they got like state of the art fleet efficiency, best out there in terms of cost to mine and their throughput with, just Bitcoin overall production. It just continues to go up. And it looks like William here posting in the comments short interest overview. It's approximately 89 million shares. That's a lot, but you know, does that mean that price is going to go down? I think that they will have to cover very soon. Days to cover is what William is saying, 2 days of average trading volume. So that gives them time to like buy back shares. So much to go on. So Skinny joining with questions. Thank you for joining. So do you think strategy could go back to 500 this week? So um, it's possible, not likely, but I think that we could easily get back into the high 400s. 500s, there's a possibility, but that would be like a 20% weekly gain. So it may very well do so. Um, but I think what's more reasonable is around high 400s, and we will climb up to 500 as we get to August. All right, so more comments. Put it in the chat. We'll go ahead and just continue through. But look, Bitcoin right now it's getting to it's 119,756. But let's continue. All right, so I'm just gonna. So Chris Cannon, yeah, I know that they've been mining a lot month over month. I haven't been really paying attention to them much, so I apologize. All right, so here's some really good news I want to share with you. So, President Trump announced a trade agreement with the EU. Okay, so all of this news came out in the morning featuring zero tariffs for American goods entering the EU and a 15% tariff on EU goods entering the US. The deal includes the EU committing to purchase $750 billion in US energy resources and invest $600 billion in the US economy while strengthening defense ties through purchases of U.S. military equipment. So that's a lot of good information. And Lutnick just stated President Trump just unlocked one of the biggest economies in the world. The EU is going to open its $20 trillion market and completely accept our auto and industrial standards for the first time ever. In addition, it will purchase 750 billion in energy from us and invest 600 billion in America. Our tariff will be set at 15% across the board. Today is a historic day for U.S. trade and will strengthen our relationship with the EU for decades to come. So that just shows the strength in the what the government is doing right now. There's a definite favor for the United States to build on its economy and the reliance of the EU, depending on the United States. So this is very bullish news and clean spark Bitcoin. So uh, lots to come. All right. So Hitchum, how would upcoming SPX DJI sell-off impact Bitcoin MSTR? Is it time Bitcoin decouples from traditional markets? So very good question. We have seen Bitcoin decouple over the course of time. I mean, we've seen that when, January, February, March, we saw, for the most part, Bitcoin performing similar to when markets go down. In some days, it decoupled, it did better, but for the most part, there is some degree of correlation. I would highly link it more towards M2 global money supply. All right, so let's just continue, but love for you to put all your comments, questions in the chat. I got, content to share with you. Mark of the Beast, give him a follow on X. He's putting out really good stuff. He's saying the stage is set for DJT. When Bitcoin rises in value, so does DJT. Trump media and technology hold over 18,000 Bitcoin. So take a look at this. Look at the top 10 treasury companies. You got Tesla, Clean Spark at 12,608 Bitcoins. Unique thing about Clean Spark is all of that right there, that Bitcoin quantity, that's all through mining. So their famous quote is, why buy Bitcoin when you can mine it for, much lower cost? Then again, when Bitcoin price just surges to super high levels, it's kind of like, well, as long as I, hodl Bitcoin and it's going to go up, I'm going to make money. So I want to have as much Bitcoin as I can possibly get. Galaxy Digital, we'll cover Galaxy Digital as well. MetaPlanet will be covering today. We'll be covering Trump Media as well, 18,000 Bitcoin. Riot Platforms will be covering today, 19,000. And Mara will be covering 50,000 Bitcoin. MicroStrategy we'll be covering as well. And how much will Saylor be announcing tomorrow? I mean, they're getting close to, one Nakamoto, which is 1 million Bitcoin, but that just puts a lot of, expectations right now. Top 10 is getting very close. I mean, you look at like from 6th to like 10th place. I mean, there's not much of a big disparity from, rank number 1 to rank 2. That's a huge disparity, but from like rank 2 through rank 6, I mean, very close haul in terms of Bitcoin. So companies are trying right now to just acquire as much Bitcoin as they can possibly get. So welcome everyone. Thank you for joining. We got lots to cover, and go ahead and put your questions in the chat. So Hitchum, as for Bitcoin, yes, it can decouple, but I'd say 80% of it is correlated to the stock market. So Alan, which miner will mine most Bitcoin this month? So Katie, to her point, it's going to be Mara or CleanSpark. We know that Mara, CleanSpark, they're like the top 2 number horses right now. One thing is Mara has, a high hash rate, but then again, their fleet efficiency isn't as good. While CleanSpark, they're ramping up their, blueprint to mine Bitcoin with S21 Pro miners, the latest and greatest technology, but their fleet efficiency is really good. So over the course of time, will CleanSpark catch up to Mara, given the fact that Mara has different business models in place right now, while CleanSpark has a laser sharp focus? They're just trying to scale out their operations, use that same reproducible footprint, and just scale up their hash rate. And I think CleanSpark is, they're going to do really well. So if you're taking advantage, dollar cost averaging right now, current price at high 11s. I think that in the next couple of weeks, we may very well see CleanSpark double up. So be on the lookout for CleanSpark. All right, so let's just continue putting your comments in the chat questions. Let's take a look at this post. Plan B, he's saying Bitcoin RSI is almost 75, orange dot. We haven't really seen an orange dot, it's like yellow. In this bull market, we will see several months with RSI 80 plus red dots like 2021, 2017, 2013, and 2011. Every halving cycle, we see multiple dots of red. What does that mean? We're going to start seeing RSI start ramping up. These dots are going to form. We'll see darker orange turn to red. That's when Bitcoin's going to start ramping up 150,000, 200,000, 250,000. We see multiple instances of red dots. That represents, monthly dots where RSI is up. That represents Bitcoin strength is going up. People are buying Bitcoin. The psychology behind this is anytime when Bitcoin price starts surging, more and more people start buying in. That's when the FOMO herd kicks in. But we haven't seen that yet. So this is relatively early as far as, the stocks that are hedging Bitcoin. Things are going to look really, really solid. I think, really good numbers are going to be coming. All right. So William putting in the comment, we got short interest with Mara, 23%. We got William posting for Riot, 25% float, short interest. Riot July 15 numbers are the same short. So is there a short squeeze that's going to happen? Only time will tell, my friends. All right, so next up, White House official confirms Bitcoin and crypto market structure bill will be signed into law by September. I mean, that's just big. I mean, we heard about the Genius Bill Act, and then now we're going to have, the White House signing more structure bills. I mean, we think about it, so much has changed ever since Trump became president. We had changes in the SEC, the Federal Reserve, and now, we're trying to, lower interest rates. But think about it. Bitcoin before, accounting rules were so strict. Bitcoin and crypto wasn't even considered a commodity. Now that the definition has changed, just really changed the whole infrastructure as to how you report your financial statements. So come next week when we got Strategy, we got Mara, Riot, and eventually CleanSpark, all the other miners out there, companies holding on to Bitcoin, it will be very favorable. We will see that as revenue, unrealized gains, just with the rise in Bitcoin price from Q1 to Q2. We saw how much, the price went up. So all of that's going to be net income for every company that's holding on to Bitcoin. So Bitcoin Therapist posts nothing stops this train. So how much is Saylor going to be announcing tomorrow? You got the Mag 7s over here just focused on, building out technology. And again, they're doing great things like Amazon transforming the online, business. Apple, half of the world or more owns like an iPhone. Meta changed the whole social media outlook. Nvidia, top line technology out there. Netflix transformed how we look at, online entertainment. And Google, had it not been for Google, then it'll be different streams of YouTube platforms like what I'm doing right now. So what is Saylor doing? He's transforming how we look at traditional finance by having Bitcoin become the new digital asset class. And eventually, MSTR is going to enter the S&P 500. What does that mean? Everyone who's working will indirectly or directly have some type of ownership with Bitcoin because Strategy is like a Bitcoin bank right now. All right, so just going through the chat, the Q2 earnings on MSTR from Dave is going to be historic. Wall Street is not factoring in the price increase with MSTR's Bitcoin holdings. How do you think they will react? Excellent question, Dave. So think about it this way. FASB accounting rule change, all of that hasn't even been priced in yet. All of the expected EPS, all of that hasn't even factored in, Bitcoin as a commodity. Back then, you would have to price in Bitcoin at its lowest price. However, now it's basically the fair value at the end of June. So all of that will show Strategy having like $15 billion of unrealized gains. So that's just huge. All right, so we'll cover more of that, Dave. I got some stuff to talk about. So, Katie, question: should my new Lexus be black or white? All right, so let's start a poll. All right, so yes is for black, no is for white. Go ahead and answer, and we will try to get that response based on everyone's take. All right, so MSTR valuation do not seem to take into account their Bitcoin value. As of January 1st, MSTR adopted ASU, which requires Bitcoin holdings to be remeasured at fair value. Yeah, so Hitchum, all of that just basically tells you that. Okay, so I'm going to end the poll. All right, so small data set there, but I personally, when it comes to, for some reason, like when it comes to like a female driving a car, I really like white. It just stands out more. Black is nice too, but I think black could get dirty and all that. But then same thing for white. But there's something about white that's very appealing, at least from through my lens. But just go based off of what preference you would prefer. Hitchum. So William has a point. Definitely has a point. So, Andre, did you hear that the White House will? So, Andre, could you speak more about that? What do you mean that? Oh, make an announcement on Wednesday about Bitcoin strategic reserve. So, Yeah, there's been just not much movement there. Like we heard about Senator Cynthia Lummis with the Strategic Bitcoin Act of 2025. We haven't heard much from, Executive Director Bo Hines talking about, when, U.S. will make the move to buy up Bitcoin. But it's just kind of like up in the air. We hear about, oh yeah, U.S. will buy 1 million Bitcoins in the next 5 years, but how long um, will that take? All right, so it looks like we got more people joining. We got Steve. Thank you, Steve. Appreciate all your comments. Glad that you're joining us. JG joining as well. Appreciate it. Andre, um, yeah, the fact Black Car. I know she's based out in Maine, so heat might not be a big problem there. But both are really good. It's hard to choose from that. But to me, there's something about white cars when a female drives that just looks more appealing to me. But just go based off of where your heart desires, whether it's black or white. All right, so Chris King. All right, so I hope that answers your question, Andre. I think we got to hear more about the hard knocks audit of gold. We definitely need to sell some gold to buy a Bitcoin because where else will the money come from, right? We got to hear more about how much does the U.S. really have when it comes to the actual amount that they have on reserve. Supposedly, there's 200,000 Bitcoins that's on the reserve, but only time will tell. All right. Yeah, so things are going to look really good. Fair market value with Bitcoin priced in the accounting books. This is going to, show a big difference now that companies are complying to this new like accounting change. Q1, all of that didn't get reflected. Yep, William, that's one of the upsides when you look at strategy. You know, Saylor has been buying since 2020. He started the public global game theory. Even financial institutions started buying in. But look at that, 71,000 average cost basis per Bitcoin. And any increase, whether it's 1%, 2% Bitcoin rise, that's just an exponential increase because of the close to one Nakamoto. Wow, so that's really awesome news. So Andre Howard Lutnick is figuring out ways to acquire Bitcoin at no cost to taxpayers. That's impressive. Yeah, I think Howard Lutnick right now he's trying to partner up. XXI that's in place with Jack Mallers. He's trying to BSCR with CPO. That's all coming out right now. Cantor Fitzgerald they're trying to make moves left and right. So Nanda, I have 200 contracts on Riot 88 strike price at $16. What do you think? With earning coming out 31st, should I sell this week or hodl till next week? So Nanda, that's really up to you. Do your own research, know what you're holding on to. I think this week is going to be potentially double up with the Riot stock as well. But it all just depends on what your investment style is. I think there's going to be huge upside. How many Bitcoin do you think MSTR will buy out of the 2.5 billion they raised on Stretch? So let's take a look. So I'm just going to go back here. So great question. And again, everyone put your questions, updates in the chat. We'll go through all of that. Take a look at Trump Media. So they got approval from SEC for like $2.4 billion. They spent $2 billion to buy Bitcoin. So the fact that MSTR has $2.5 billion, that could be somewhere around 20,000 Bitcoins that they may potentially announce. And when you look at the history with MSTR, Yeah, I appreciate it, Nanda. And for those of you, follow me on X. Um, Give me a follow. You can find me here. All I see is W. It has an underscore W. If you haven't already done so, go ahead and do that right now. Give me a follow on X. Goal of this channel: we're gaining on positive proceeds. We're leading with an altruistic mindset. So that's basically the motto. All right. So going back here with this table, back in March 31st, they bought 22,000 Bitcoin. February, 20,000 Bitcoin. So are they going to have a big, purchase coming up? Anytime, usually when Bitcoin goes up, that's when they're able to, acquire more money and then buy up Bitcoin. So we will see. But here's an interesting take from the Bitcoin therapist. He's forecasting 180,000 Bitcoin, 1,000 MSTR, and $25 Meta Planet. We're definitely not bullish enough. There's huge upside to come. All right, so Nanda, thanks for your question. I will kind of share with you some of the good plays that you all should, be focused on. And again, do your own research. I'm just sharing with you what I think has upside. But Michael Saylor, he posts, it all began with $250 million in Bitcoin. So when you think about what this means, it all began when COVID started, when a lot of people were at home. What did Saylor do? He switched up his whole business model. He was like, you know what? Rather than my company going out of business, quickly or like a longer decay, I got to switch gears. I got to pivot and do something different. I got to start buying Bitcoin at like 8,000, 10,000. Doesn't matter the price, I will continue to buy. So the last 5 years, he's been just buying Bitcoin, and now everyone is following that playbook. You know, 5 years later, now we're in 2025. Granted, there's companies like MetaPlanet that started last year, so they're ahead of the game too, which is why they're ramping up their Bitcoin hodl. But look at this. They've been buying for the last 5 years, which is why their cost average is much lower than everyone else. All right. So hope that helps answer your question there, Andre. So I'm thinking somewhere around 20,000. But what is your take? What do you think? Okay. So 21,000, that's reasonable. That is reasonable. 180,000 Bitcoin should send CleanSpark to approximately $13. $13? No way. I'm actually forecasting CleanSpark's going to double up right now, $22. That's going to be coming up in the next couple of weeks. You know, um, Strike. So what is Strike? But just look at this record-setting, largest U.S. IPO released. I mean, look at the Stride. Didn't do so well, 1 million, but look at Strike, $2.5 million. People like this because it's more stable than like MSTY, Stripe, Stride. Uh, Less of a long-term hold, shorter duration, but you get that fixed income as well with the dividends. So definitely something that a lot of investors are attracted to. All right, so 19,576 right now, not bad at all. Bitcoin, it's I think it's going to break through 120,000 before market open tomorrow. All right, so let's see what the questions are in the chat. So Mara, yeah, so I really like what's going on right now, especially with Mara opening up on Tuesday. Once they announce their earnings update, everyone's going to be looking at Mara, especially like the Bitcoin mining companies, because Mara has like the biggest Bitcoin hodl. If they show good numbers, that's gonna, rise up all the other company stocks as well. I think CleanSpark will have a nice run up, especially if Mara's price starts shooting up like double digit gains on Tuesday after market. I think there's going to be some nice upside, especially we see actuals outperforming the expected earnings per share. Steve Giles, yeah, you're right. I mean, black is very sleek, white is classy, so both are very good. So Clean Spark is like being on vacation doing nothing. You know what? That's what you want to see because we now have support in the double digits. A couple months ago, we were like treading, drowning, like just like we're in like in hope land, but now things are going to change. I think Clean Spark is definitely going to have a nice run up. So where things are quiet, that's when the run up's going to happen. All right, so MSTR. So just on the technicals, on the daily, yeah, we had a pullback from like 460. Now it's like treading at support of 400. We're still above the Ichimoku cloud. Yes, we did have the crossing on the MACD, so we gotta watch out for continuous drawdown. We don't want the price to get down to like 390 or 380. That means we're back in the Ichimoku cloud. We don't want that. Then it's going to create that gravitational pull down. But I think just with all the news that's going on right now with the tariffs, the extension with China, clarity on the strategic uh, Bitcoin reserve, as well as crypto law being announced September, along with rate cuts, that's going to send Bitcoin price up. And MSTR had a slight pullback because the last couple of days or weeks, Bitcoin has just been consolidating since that run up top to 123,000. But it's only priming. It's going to get ready for that run up Bitcoin. Imagine once it gets to like 130, MSTR is going to like pop back up and it's going to start, climbing into the 500-600 range. But as we head into 2025, I'm saying we're getting to that $1,000 for strategy. That's going to be coming. So, Andre, Mara needs the money to pay bills like electricity and salaries, also restructure debt due in 2026. Mara has a very high all-in cost to mine a single Bitcoin. Yeah, so when you have that much Bitcoin on your balance sheet, you're really taking a risk-on approach, and it becomes less risk once price of Bitcoin goes up, offset all of the costs. But when you think about Mara versus like Riot, CleanSpark, Mara has been holding on to all of their Bitcoin. Long term, that may serve as a benefit. Short term, that actually impacts the overall operational infrastructure because you got costs you got to pay off, like employees, electricity, just the maintenance of your mining facility. The fact that they haven't paid off any of that, now comes the ATMs. But I think with Mara, they let out the recent news, just that had happened last week with raising the convertible notes. I think that was all to get the ugly news out of the way first before the earnings that's going to be on Tuesday. But let's take a look at Mara. So the technicals are still very favorable. I mean, we see higher highs. Yes, we did see a pullback. It broke through $20, but I think Q2 earnings at a minimum on Tuesday after market, we're gonna pop. I'm thinking somewhere around 1950. Around Tuesday after the earnings report, 1950 at a minimum. We may very well see it climb even more, but I wouldn't be surprised if it gets like a 15%, pop in the aftermarket. That's going to be coming. So be on the lookout. This week is going to look very favorable for Mara. I wouldn't be surprised if it starts catching on to like 20s up as we head into next week with Mara. All right. So yes, you're right, Andre. Cost to mine Bitcoin is much different compared to like CleanSpark. It's much, much different. So John Daly, thank you for your question. I'm going to share with you another play. And just because you brought up ETH, I love ETH. I think ETH is gonna, have a nice field day, but we will cover that. All right. So next up, so I hold on to CleanSpark. I'm a big believer of CleanSpark. CleanSpark, they're catching on to what Mara is doing with their hash rate. Their fleet efficiency is ramping up very quick. They're based out in like Las Vegas. They're doing really good things right now. You know what? I think with the RSI, drawing down to like 51, people are like, wait, what's going on with CleanSpark? But think about this. We're still trending up. You got to have that consolidation, that drawdown for the next, pop up. So I think that it's just going to prime. It's going to get ready, and in the next couple of weeks, at least in the month of August, we may very well see a nice pop up. August, September, I see, $22. That's going to be coming up for CleanSpark. All right, so let's take a look at ETH for a second. All right. Yes, so that's the tricky thing that I learned as well. Like, we base things so much on fundamentals. It's like, wait, how come the fundamentals are good, but why is it that the stock keeps, getting battered? That's why now I also focus on technical analysis as well. But just with the technicals right now, some miners have high RSI, some have, stable RSI. So the fact that CleanSpark has like an RSI around 50, and just with the rise in Bitcoin price, that's going to show stability for the upside for the price. But here's one ETF I want to share with you, and this is ETHE. If you like Ethereum, either ETHE, ETHA, you buy some call options with this, you're going to be printing a lot of money. I think, let's say if Ethereum goes to like 8,000, ETHE is going to have a nice run up as well. And typically this has a higher like run up when Ethereum runs. I mean, just from like, June 26th, $20 and now $30. So I really do think that it has more pop in this. Let's say if it goes to like 4,000, then we're going to see this climb into like, close to the mid 35s onward. So be on the lookout. ETHE, ETHA, BlackRock's ETF, especially similar to like IBIT. So if you like IBIT, ETHA, ETHE is the hot ETF that you don't want to miss out on. So what calls would you buy, Nanda? So I actually have like some leaps going out to like November 2026, but who knows? I may, like let's say if Ethereum goes to like 8,000, I'll probably take profits by then on ETH. But right now, the calls that I have for ETHE, um, it's like 170% up right now. But I really do think that as it goes up more, with the expiration going out all the way to late 2026, it could print even more. So just we'll sit on that, let it just grow. All right. So next up, so Riot platforms. So I'm bullish on Riot platforms. Some of you may be holding on to Riot platforms, but just look at this puppy. I mean, JG loves to look at altcoins. I know that. He's also a minor investor. Look at the last two Bitcoin halving events. 2017, RSI ran up 82. It ran up to like $46. Last bull run, it ran from $3 to like $83. RSI was like at 94. Since then, 5 years later, RSI has been just dud. No movement. It's been just consolidating in this year-long, multi-year-long consolidation bull flag, and just recently on the monthly candle, you see it just breaking out. That's really a good sign that you want to see because it just got challenged over the course of many resistance levels. And now, question is, how high can Riot pop? It's only a matter of time where we will see. I mean, lots of companies have been just shooting up recently, so I really do think that there could just be pops that's going to be coming for like Riot platforms. So next week can be very interesting as we have the earnings update. We'll hear a lot about their Bitcoin mining production, more about their AI strategic plan, and what's going to be coming. Iron. So Iron is another HPC AI miner. One of the things that's unique about Iron is, they have NVIDIA technology, and a lot of people are liking Iron. What's going on with Iron? Even though they don't have like a big Bitcoin hodl, they basically sell all their Bitcoin. So let's say if Bitcoin price goes up, is it going to be favorable to companies like Iron? Maybe not as significant compared to like CleanSpark, Riot, and Mara, because they are the hodl companies. But Iron, more so with AI demand increasing, that'll favor Iron. But the technicals, what are we seeing? Look at this. RSI has been very high, 86, 87. That's one thing to keep in mind. Let's say if you're like buying a big stack of iron at around $17, keep in mind that you're buying at high risk. This went from like $5 to $20. So question is, will iron go up through the rest of 2025? Sure, I believe that it can go up to like $30. I really do think iron has potential to keep climbing. We've seen Palantir go up single digits all the way to where they are right now, Robinhood as well. But just be mindful of the relative strength. Technicals show that it's overbought. You got to have it stabilize a little bit. I think there might be consolidation going on at around $16, $15 where it'll establish a support, have it consolidate for, some time, and then it'll pop up into new levels. So that's my prediction. So David joining Steve with the question. So, hey, man, yes, it's going to be exciting. So, I'm excited to be covering, like the updates starting with Mara on Tuesday, and then we got strategy Riot on the same day on Thursday. So it's going to be very interesting. So, Katie, any thoughts on game? I actually sprinkled into game. I'm down right now. So the fact that game it's down, good cost average right now. I mean, it went down significantly. So if you're planning on dabbling, game is at a really good cost average after that huge run up. It's like close to $1. Game Square, if you like Ethereum, yeah, they can have a nice run up. But also be on the lookout for like BMNR, Tom Lee's company. I think it's at a good price point right now, high 30s. On Friday it dropped 5%, so it's looking pretty good. I mean, it went from like single digits to like $170, and now at 38. Kathy Wood bought in. Also, BTBT, which I will be covering right now. BTBT, they are an ETH company as well. I would rather invest in Bit Digital because they are a combo play. They got AI and they are now an Ethereum company. They sold, most of their Bitcoin to buy up Ethereum, even though they have like a portion of Bitcoin left. But look at this. They're above their Ichimoku cloud. Yes, we saw two pullbacks on that run up, but that's good sign. It's kind of like where there's volatility, there's going to be a lot more volume to the upside. I think in the next couple of weeks, we may very well have a pop from like $3 to $6 drawn in green here. And they will be aggressively buying Ethereum. The CEO, he's making some moves right now. Sam Tabar, I think he knows where he wants to take this company, and that's going to be an ETH company. ETH, continues to go up, then BTBT will continue to make money and add value to shareholders. So I definitely do think there's upside there. So William with the comments. Yes, David. So Mara earnings, that's on Tuesday. So it's going to have a potential run up. JG miners will lead again on Monday. So in the next 40 minutes or so, we will see how the markets will open. But I do think that miners will be in the green, especially just with markets last week. It was red. So we got ETH 3,800, Bitcoin 119. So, I think there's many altcoins that are having really good days as well. We got Pudgy Penguins doing very well. It went from 3 cents to 4 cents. If you want to learn more about altcoins, definitely ask JG Lee. He's the expert. He's looking at Mudang. Mudang has done very well. So kudos to JG with monitoring the hot altcoins that are coming up. But I also do think Dogecoin and Pingu are the altcoins that may very well continue to perform in this altcoin run up, along with many others. All right, so we talked about BTBT. They are an ETH company now, but I think that we're going to see a nice run up. I do have call options all the way through, I think it's 2027, January 2027 leaps. I have $10 call options. I also bought some leaps, some call options out further as well for this year. But I will continue to, buy some more call options on BTBT as well as shares. So I really like what they're doing. Here's an interesting company we all should keep an eye on. Again, this isn't financial advice, but we heard about, Thursday last week when uh, Bitcoin started dropping in price, right? It went from like 120 and then it started going down to like 115,000, high 114,000 on Thursday. Everyone was like, what is going on? Why is Bitcoin price slightly dropping? That was because a well sold, 80,000 Bitcoins worth. He bought all of that Bitcoin for 54,000 14 years ago. He made $9 billion. He took profits, and there's reason for him to do so. I mean, you hold on to Bitcoin for that long, you gotta make some profits, right? That was all through Galaxy Digital. So think about that. A company that can handle that amount of Bitcoin transacted on one transaction, that's huge from one wallet. That is why I'm also very bullish with Galaxy Digital. A lot of people are talking about Galaxy Digital. I have call options on them as well. I really do think there's upside. I have calls going out to like, late 2026. So I'm sitting on this, but I really do think GLXY is like the next Palantir, Robinhood type of stock, Nvidia type of stock. They also own, a lot of crypto. They also have huge HPC AI data centers. So we think about CoreWeaves and all that. They have partnerships with those AI data centers. So be on the lookout. GLXY, I think come Q1 of 2026, they will be at like, $140. That's my like best guess. So who in the chat likes GLXY or has investments in Galaxy Digital? All right, so Katie, 80,000 coins. So what coins is that? I'm curious. Oh, yes, David. I think the market is going to have a nice roar up with any tariff related news. I mean, we were all worried like, oh no, the due date's coming up. What is Trump going to do? Is he going to like, oh, I was going to say, my goodness, you can buy like millions of Lexuses with that. 80, I was thinking of like altcoins, but you were referring to the Bitcoin. Got it. Yeah, that whale had good foresight and vision. But yeah, anyways, I just wanted to, keep this on your radar. Galaxy GLXY has, huge potential. So be on the lookout for that. All right. So Nanda, very smart man. I think I have very similar. I have $40 calls at September 2026 or November, but we have very similar plays there. So Nanda's doing the right thing. All right, so next up, I'm very bullish on DJT. So, Nanda, you're asking what calls would you buy? This is one stock I'm saying not to sleep on. I've been buying call options. I have calls like November 2026. I have calls that are, August, September, you name it. Why do I like DJT so much? Just look at the technicals. Back in January, this is like a $43 stock. So where you buy it right now, this is like, 55% discount from that January run up top. So you're not necessarily bag holding that. Let's say if you bought at that time or if you held at that time, but it's been consolidating in this bull flag for who knows how long, right? And at that midpoint, January to February, it dropped to $30. But just recently, I mean, April, it was like at 15 and then it popped up to like 27. So it nearly 80% within like, a couple of weeks. So it's been consolidating. But when you take a look at it, I mean, just with Trump media right now top six, with 18,000 Bitcoin. When Bitcoin rises in value, so does DJT. The stage is set for DJT. So just think about that. There's so much going on right now. They are officially a Bitcoin treasury company. So, DJT has a lot of room for it to run up. Right. So William posting, these transactions were tied to a Bitcoin investor who moved 80,000 Bitcoin from a dormant wallet earlier this month. Coins that were later transferred to Galaxy, according to lock on chain data from July. So Nanda, I got September 19, $30 calls. I might need to get some leaps too. So we got some very similar plays, and congrats on that. So William, DJT coin, I think you're talking about the South Park coin that recently came out. Yep, I've been hearing a lot about that, but we will see what's going on. But be on the lookout for Trump media. All right, so here's a stock that I'm sort of bag holding. I mean, I got in, when I saw that nice, price around. I actually got in at around high 14s. So I'm down a little bit right now on options, but I really do think that we might have a yo-yo effect with OSCR healthcare company. It's been dragging out lately. I mean, it had a pop back in June from like 14 to 22. It's been dropping down. I think here's a great buying opportunity. Sometime in August, we might have a pop from like 13 to $18. You buy some call options on this, it goes up that much. You can easily make some money on that if you have some call options to like September, October, or even later. So definitely a stock that has the jumpy effect, the volatility, and you can make some money. But then again, it comes at risk. Always do your research. Oh, thank you, Nanda. I'm grateful you made money, man. I'm here to help. Anything I can do for all of us to gain on positive proceeds. I don't want to be winning alone. I want everyone in this community to also be winning and sharing our experiences with one another. So good job on that, man. You know, ETU up 36%. That's interesting. BitDeer, here's a sleeping giant that no one's really talking about. The technicals look really good as well. I mean, BitDeer, they make seal miners. They're a manufacturer. People depend on BitDeer because they have really good technology with their Bitcoin mining devices. I mean, the last dip was April, and now we see a pull flag drawn. Now we're seeing this, hover in this bull flag. It broke out of it, but it hasn't broke out significantly. This stock was like back in January, it was like $27. Where it is right now, $14. there's so much upside with BitDeer. I think like they have an opportunity to U shape up, V shape up, you name it. But BitDeer also a nice stable play. All right, so continuing Cipher. Cipher's another play. One thing to keep in mind is like the relative strength is fairly high, though. That's one thing to be mindful about. But then again, it's showing a lot of strength right now. It may consolidate, pop up to like, like that $8 potential. But we got to see the technicals kind of stabilize, have it consolidate before it gaps up. But Cypher is getting a lot of traction right now. Any news with like, a partnership with Meta, for example, this thing can have a nice run up. All right, Hims also, a healthcare company. I like Hims. I'm not invested in them, but just looking at the relative strength, February had a run up. May had a run up from like 26 to like 65. It had a slight pullback recently, but it's been, steadily climbing where it is right now around 57. I think it might have a pop to 71. Relative strength is fairly low. It could have the next peak RSI run up to 70. So Hims is another play I'm just watching on the sideline right now. Metaplanet is a company that I really think has upside. It's been quiet since May during the Bitcoin conference. I mean, it ran up to like $16. It's been just consolidating. It's been quiet. I've been dollar cost averaging. I think that we're going to have a pop to like $17 when we least expect it to. RSI is like stabilizing right now at 37. It's in the oversold category. We're going to see that pop coming up. So be on the lookout for that. ETH ETH is a very good investment as well. Yes, so Katie, hit the like button, subscribe as well. If you haven't already done so, we're getting close to the top of the hour. Also, ETHE, I have some call options with this. I think that ETH, if it goes up to 8,000, ETHE has huge potential to run up as well. So be on the lookout for that. But there's so much news that's going to be coming this week. Looking forward to the earnings call, and that's tomorrow. We're going to have CleanSpark announced. We're going to have Riot. We're going to have Strategy announced. So lots of exciting news. And on the macro front, we got crypto now considered as a commodity. Accounting rules have changed, but I don't think the whole world realizes that favors companies that have Bitcoin on their balance sheet, where it's going to be fair value accounting. Um, so there's huge upside. So Nanda would be nice. I can possibly make if Riot goes to 20 this week. Oh, that's going to be awesome, man, with the call options. So stay bullish, remain bullish. You know, we're all here to share information, add value. Let's keep making gains. So JGETH will lead the miners. So ETH is strong right now. I mean, let's look at ETH right now. I mean, it's this puppy is getting close to $4,000. It's not a matter of if, but it's like when. Is it going to be tonight? Is it going to be tomorrow? I mean, a lot of people are really looking at Ethereum right now. I mean, Tom Lee, he's bullish on ETH. He's saying it's going to go to like 15,000. So it's going to be huge. So which company are you talking about? Hold till earning or sell this week? All right, so Nanda, I'm gonna share with you why. All right, so take a look at this, and I hope that this answers your question. So Crypto Calio today posts, Riot might just double this week. Highly shorted, prime for a squeeze, sitting at the top of a multi-year channel resistance, looks ready to break out. Earnings report as Bitcoin is pushing for new all-time highs. Tariff deals sending markets higher over the weekend. So there you have it. I hope that Crypto Calio, big time crypto influencer, you know, gives you that perspective of what to do. But again, always do your research. All right, so we're at the top of the hour, but I just wanted to thank you all for joining for another live session. If you haven't already done so, please do make sure to subscribe to my channel, and also follow me on X as well. You can find me at alliseeisW with the _W. Go ahead and follow me right now, if you don't mind. And I'd love to connect with you there. Yeah, just I have YouTube. You could follow me there. I also have you know just connect with me there and on X. I currently don't have a Discord, but I do have YouTube. You can join on with. Okay, so just make sure to subscribe to the channel. All right. Well, thank you all, David. I appreciate it. William, JG, David, Steve, Nanda, all of you that are on the call. William, Katie, really appreciate all the returning folks. Steve joining, Andre, Yim, everyone that's on the call. Dave, Andre, Hitchum, John, Daly, Chris King, everyone who's on the call. Stay out of the hot sun in Cali. Oh, yes. And stay warm in Maine, along with everywhere else in Washington, wherever you are. Um, Thank you all. We'll do this live session again next Sunday at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and continue to follow me on X and on YouTube. And I will continue to put daily videos out. Thank you guys. Have a good Sunday, and markets are going to be opening up, so we will get a taste of the wild coming up. But again, as for which color Lexus, that's a tough one. So you're gonna have to think through that and just make the right decision. But just kidding, either one would be a good selection. All right, thank you all. Have a good rest of your Sunday. Take care.